Hey guys, Ranchineer Hey guys, Ranchineer bringing a little up commentary. This is gonna be the fourth set between Jaedong and Snow in the PDPOP MSL. PDPOP MSL. This is gonna be on Benzene in the upper right hand corner in green, playing in zerg, as zerg rather. Is gonna be, of course, Jaedong. Eternally looking like he never gets enough sleep. Wonder if his salary makes up for it, which I've actually read is pretty freaking high. Lower left-hand corner, we're gonna have Snow playing as the blue protoss. Said before, this is Benzene, two-player map. I really like this map actually. I'm gonna talk about it in 2 seconds. 35, 36, 37. Okay, maybe that was 3 seconds. But this map a little bit reminiscent of Match Point. Not necessarily in all the positionings, and although just many ways. This map reminds me of Match Point, specifically in how, for one thing, you got these little walls. The map isn't as tall as Match Point, for one thing. And I have no idea what those signs are saying, and I don't really care. But yeah, it's not as tall as Match Point was, but one of the things it definitely has in common with Match Point is the fact you got your main, below that is your natural. Further below that is a third base, which is a gas only, and further off, even further in the complete opposite, in the other corner, like say for Jaedong, it's the lower right hand corner. That's going to be a gas main, another, well, not main, but a gas expansion, which is kind of sitting itself just by itself there. And an enemy can have easy access to that base, so you're gonna have to be really careful if you're thinking of taking that for yourself. So overall, you got to be very careful in how you choose your expansions, how you choose your bases, what exactly you decide to go for. But anyways, I like this map. Also, of course, the natural expansion not as open up to ridiculous harassment like Match Point was. The main is not as open up to ridiculous harassment as on Match Point was. And, you know, many differences, but it is still in some ways, not just because of the tile set, but it is a little bit reminiscent, I must say. Let's see. Ducey seems like an seems like an overpull. Might have even been a 9 pull. Seems like a very early spawning pull there coming up. Definitely looks like an overpull. On the opposite side, we did see a Nexus come up even before a Forge, it seemed. So very safe play there. Hatchery coming up for Jaedong. He's expanding all the way to the lower right. Right out of the gate, while Snow just now puts down his Forge. Zerglings are coming out, but it seems like it's only 2 defensive. Jaedong's just going to play passive to start off, just getting a couple of Zerglings out there, force away that scout. And he's going to want to take 3 early bases, getting other drone out. Kind of trying to fake out a little bit. Try to convince his opponent that that lower right hand is not yet there. Try to make it so he doesn't go in and scouts that. Still going to try to be a little bit irritating. Oh, nice blocking off the hatchery quite well here. Seems like it's finally, nope, drone going to be engaging that probe still. Probe going to be forced to run away inside the main to scout. Now finally the drone's going to be able to put down the hatchery. A little bit delayed, but nothing too serious. Do see the extractor coming up. Jaedong's going to start working on that gas. Should be seeing the lair on the way very soon. Seems like Jaedong's setting himself up for a bit of an economic game. Taking up the third gas right away. Seems like he's going to want to expand towards the mineral only a little bit later on in the game to like pick that up, to pick up a little bit extra minerals. So he's probably going to want to just stick to that one side with 3 gas, 4 bases. That's going to give him fairly decent economy. He's going to want to get a 4th gas later on in the game once he goes to Hive Tech. Just now putting down his lair, and, you know, Probe spots that. So at the very least, there's not going to be... He can expect that there's not going to be any too aggressive strategies. Doesn't see a Hydrogen anywhere. Doesn't even know about that lower right-hand base there. And if Jaedong decides to hide out Hydrogen there, just go for an early Hydra bust. I'm not going to say it's not Jaedong style, because Jaedong is the kind of player that can pull just anything out. He can play a very solid, standard Zerg game with a lot of different types of builds, but he can also pull out strange wackiness like, oh, you know what, yeah, standard Zerg play, yeah, standard Zerg play. Bosh! All of a sudden just, what's going on? He can channel Quanro when it's necessary, let's put it like that. 7 score on the opposite side. Should be seeing a Stargate coming up for Snow. Still keeping that Probe Scout in there forever, because Jaedong only went for 2 Zerglings. So doing a great job of keeping that Probe Scout in there forever. Not going to be long enough to spot the Spire coming up. I think it's almost going down. Still, I know shields are slowly recharging. Stopping there. Should be maybe able to keep it alive long enough to get a Scout somewhere. Snow doesn't even seem to be focusing too hard on the Pronium there. Just trying to keep it alive long enough to possibly spot a Spire somewhere. Where I can show you, yeah, Jaedong actually, there you go, puts down a Spire inside of the main. And this is actually pretty much this is the role. When you put out your first scouting probe, if you manage to get the tech building that goes down after the, which is very difficult to do and usually doesn't actually happen, if you manage to get that, see that building, you pretty much did your absolute perfectly best with the probe. It's pretty much, you pretty much cannot do better. It's almost, you pretty much cannot do better. So it's actually a very good job scouting-wise done for Snow here. Pretty much has all the information he's need. He does not still know about that low right-hand position, but I think once he has his Corsairs out, he's going to be able to spot that. Back home, he only has one single cannon, but a nice little choke blocked off by Zealots. Jaedong has not gone for any sort of aggressive maneuvers. Now he really can't. We might see Snow putting down an additional cannon there, maybe a little bit more to the left for Mutalisk's sakes. A little bit closer to the probe line just to help against Mutalisk harass. We're going to see what he goes for. Temple Archives on the way here, so he's going very standard play. Nothing funky, 2 bases. And Snow has shown himself that he can play toe-to-toe with Jaedong. I mean, Jaedong last game really dominated him, but Snow, I got to say, in the second set, pulled out a very nice victory. And even though Jaedong is 2-1 ahead, I'm not going to say that I'm going to count Snow out. I'm really not going to count him out because he's shown some very impressive play overall as a player. This is his worst matchup, but I've seen many Protoss players who have this as their worst matchup do overall very well. So I'm not going to take anything away from him. Does seem like we're going to have weapons one upgraded for those Corsairs. One Corsair just going to kill the Overlord that's inside of that's inside of Snow's main. He's going to spot everything. He's going to spot the Temple Archive, spot the Stargate. He doesn't see anything unorthodox, nothing he probably wasn't expecting. So if Snow's going to do something funky later on in the game, he still has that covered. He can still do that. Still don't think he has a lower right hand spotted. Might have already flown over there with a Corsair, though, actually, now that I think about it. I'm not too sure. Grouping a few of those up. And we're going to see exactly what he goes for. Seems like he's going to go for just more of a standard type of play. He's, has gone for many different strategies, Reaver and such, but now this Scourge is going to fly in their spot that it's very standard play. Seeing that there's a lot of Corsairs being built up, and just going to try to snipe it as it comes out, and it actually might happen unless Snow spots this happening. I just think he doesn't see this happening. Cannon might warp in just in time to kill one of the Scourge. Oh, Corsair whoops in and flies straight north, and the Scourge just at that moment had flown south. Just miss that Corsair. Quite a few Scourge out there across the field for Jaedong, trying to cover his bases, but Snow actually mostly keeping those Corsairs just inside of his base, trying to group them up. Has a couple of DTs running around the map. Don't really think he's going to be able to do too much with them. There are plenty of Overlords down here. There's a Sunken Colony DT going to go in there, take a Sunken hit to the face, then run back home. Like, no, I don't want nothing to do with this. And Jaedong right now finally getting a little bit of macro going. Decent Hydra force out there across the map. He is going to be expanding towards his Mineroli. I think Snow managed to spot that with ZT just before he ran away. Not too sure, but I definitely saw the drone, so that should give him the clue he needs. Getting additional gateway, so it seems like he's going to go for an ground army style of play. Kind of reminiscent of what I'm used to seeing from Cal. Generally used to seeing from Cal against Zerg. He's a really, really good ground army player. I mean, he can go for any strategy. He's overall good, but I've seen him do some incredible ground army control. Just going very heavy on the Zealots. Quite a few Corsairs just to kill stuff in the air, kind of force Mutalisks back. But if there's a heavy ground army against heavy ground army fight, PvZ, then Cal is a player that really good at it. Corsairs flying straight to his Overlords, getting a bunch of hits. None of them going down. I don't think even any of them lost anything more than shields, but still with Spore Colonies on the ground, those Corsairs aren't not going to be as effective. And it seems like Snow's going to start pushing in already. Corsairs taking a lot of Overlords down. It's Snow just trying to put a little bit of pressure on Jaedong. Jaedong doesn't really have any auxiliary forces, only these Hydras, which are being forced to kind of pick between trying to kill off those Corsairs, which are shooting at the Overlords. But now they're Corsairs fighting over the Spore Colony is a little bit not the smartest thing ever, but a lot of Zealots in there with weapons on upgrades and speed, engaging those Hydras, killing them, ripping them to pieces. Not too many of them left at this point, but still doing a great job of fighting toe-to-toe. Still some trying to run inside the base. Going to try to get some harassment going. Trying to do a little bit of damage to that fourth base coming up for Jaedong. Meanwhile, just running in with more Zealots, being very aggressive. Snow really liking this play from here. Not going to be able to take out a lot of these drones. Any of these drones here, actually. The drones is being forced to not mine and kill one Zealot that was being pesky and annoying here. A couple of Zealots are going to be able to run inside the main, get the spot and everything, and maybe try to get at least a couple of drone kills. Jaedong going to try to micro them around, and Zealots actually switch targets now to some ground use. Did kill one gas mining drone, lost a lot of his Zealots, did put on a lot of pressure, killed quite a few Overlords there. So the Hydralisks that were needed to push those backs are actually might not be coming as fast as he's hoping. Doesn't have a lot of Corsairs anymore because he lost a lot of those. Only 4, I think, left. A few more Zealots trying to come in for pressure, but now that Lurkers are in play, I think any pressure that Snow was thinking of putting on is not going to happen. He's going to be forced to run back all the way. Trying to engage after the Lurkers were birds, and trying to engage with the Lurkers a little bit out of position, but overall not managing too well. One Zealot taking on 3 Zerglings, and barely coming up behind. 1 hit away. But I really like this play from Snow. I'm kind of surprised he hasn't used this opportunity to actually pick up one of his own bases, because he's been putting on a lot of pressure, been forcing Jaedong inside of his own bases. Seems like he's just going to actually use this opportunity to tech up, get his tech units out. Has a robotics facility out there. That's going to be for the observers. Probably going to need more Dragoons now that he knows the Lurkers are out there, but it does seem like he's getting himself ready. Has put down a pylon here, almost warped in to put down an additional base. Still out there with Zealots, putting on a lot of pressure, using this Corsair Zealot combo very effectively, just forcing all the ground units away with the Zealots while the Corsair just fly around and kill as many overlords as humanly possible, kind of playing a delaying game. Very heavy delaying game on Jaedong, just trying to make sure he can delay a lot of Jaedong's army, delay Jaedong's economy, and actually doing a great job so far. Observatory just now coming up for him now. He's done I just really love this play here from him. Really taking advantage of Jaedong going for economic play right out of the gate. So he's like, oh, you're going to go economy? Well, I'm going to freaking pressure like crazy. Taking out, losing a High Templar there, but taking out 3 Lurkers with 1 Storm. Nice play. Losing the High Templar probably wasn't part of the plan, but, you know, sometimes sacrifices must be made. Actually, you might have actually... I think I actually might have actually lost a Zealot, not a High Templar. I thought I saw something die. I thought it was a High Templar. Might have actually been a Zealot. Yet again, engagement coming in here. But the problem is right now that he's very, very full on nothing. And that Snow has not too much. As High Templar dropping Zealots in here. Gonna get a nice storm. Kill a lot of drones as they flee. Oh, man. Beautiful play. Going in there. Killing a lot of the overlords. Yet again, gonna harass like crazy inside of his natural now. Is it gonna be a High Templar? I might drop a High Templar behind. He does drop a High Templar, but he's not really gonna do much. Get 1 storm off. Might have killed maybe 2 drones. DT's meanwhile inside the main, killing the eggs. Where's gonna morph into a hive. He's spotting that up, but absolutely insane pressure from Snow, not letting up at all at any point in time. Killed quite a few drones. Gonna try to pick up a new base. Zerglings they're trying to run in and make sure that doesn't happen. High Templar is still on that ridge. It just needs to get 1 more storm off. It's gonna be insane. Still overlords dying everywhere. Hydra might kill that High Templar before it manages to do anything. Seems like it was out of energy there, or else we would have seen a storm. Quite a few drones dead, though. And yet again, we might see some more... Oh, no, never mind. Just going to fly past. Doesn't have speed on that shuttle, but he's not really going for reavers, so that's perfectly understandable. But Jaedong just not being allowed to maneuver across the map, not being allowed to put on any pressure, not being allowed to eke out a big army either. He's being forced to play very defensive. As you can see on the map, he's only on his right side of the map. He's trying to put on a little bit of pressure, trying to ride out with some Zerglings. That was stomped down. Now Jaedong is being forced to play very aggressively, very passively, I'm sorry. Putting down sunken colonies, trying to get his economy up, trying to keep his overlord count high because he's not been doing a great job of that. Even another overlord gonna die there and might be seeing another drop. Drones being forced back. That in and of itself is a lot of harassment. Just going in there, killing overlord, forcing the drones to switch positions. That's the drones fleeing to the main. That's the drones that are not mining. High Templar coming in here. Storm catching a lot of drones as they transfer. Oh my God, this pressure play from Snow is insane. Talk about being aggressive. Generally don't see a Protoss player being this aggressive until they have a fairly large ball. But now Snow is, meanwhile, all this time he's been putting on pressure. He's not sacrificed that many troops. Nothing about Zealots, really. Now he's being allowed to pressure a lot. Jaedong is heavily spread out with very few troops. Seems like Snow is just going to continue this pressure here at the natural expansion, just being... A lot of his forces dying, losing most of his Corsairs. Think he doesn't have anything inside of his shell. Might have a Templar in there. But even now, the bulk of his army is moving down south towards the lower right-hand position. That's an important lifeline right there for Jaedong. Has a lot of Dragoons now with a bunch of observers flying in there. Make sure that if any of those get sniped, you can still see those Lurkers. Storm's coming off across. Not a best storm ever, but still another storm. Not really seemingly hitting too much. But overall, you see Jaedong really just does not have the forces whatsoever. More Zealots running in to fight back. Jaedong finally coming in with some reinforcements. Very Zergling heavy. That's not going to do too much. Shuttle meanwhile going to go inside the natural expansion. Another storm! Look at all those drones just dying like... Oh, man. Oh, just the the amount of compliments I can shower on Snow for this play right now is quite a lot. Hasmin are only now opting to pick up the left side 6 o'clock rather than anything else. Look at the guy's all focused, and Jaedong's like, meh. Oh, okay, I have a 6 o'clock. Well, I'm going to take that down. Has, of course, a green lands upgrades. Tick down a cannon, but not really going to be able to do too much. Snow just going to take the time to put up some cannons up there and put up some more defenses. Jaedong going just now for Evo Chambers. That right there should tell you the problem that he's in. I think that those two were his first Evo Chambers. Oh, man, Zealots yet again are going to come in here. What's up, what's up, what's up? They're just going to run and try to snap some more drones. That's been pretty much his entire game. Keep Jaedong on the back foot. If he has an army, try to win the engagement, or just try not to force too big an engagement. But overall, try to do economic damage, try to do troop damage, killing a lot of overlords, killing a lot of drones. Jaedong's not going to be able to pick up a easy fifth at any point in this game the way it is right now. Just no way. Anytime he tries to eke out and pull out a 5th base, it's going to have to be, like 12. For one thing, it's going to have to make sure it doesn't get spotted and not taken out, because it's going to be very hard to eke out. He's not going to be able to defend it, because if he tries to pick up an additional base, it's not going to be defended. He finally has Defilers out there, putting down some Dark Swarms. That's going to make the Dragoons quite ineffective, and he's going to force Snow back here to a point where he can't really engage. But still, overall, Snow with a very large army, quite a lot of High Templar, a lot of Zealots, ready to engage under the Dark Swarms. And apparently putting up a pylon here at the upper left position, but I really don't think Snow's going to go for that. He has his 5th base coming up, 4th base coming up there at the 6 o'clock, left side 6 o'clock. Yet again, going to put down some pressure here on this lower right-hand position, storming off across the sunken colonies. Didn't really do too much. Killed a lot of his actually own forces. Seems like he's going to be forced to back off. A lot of forces coming in from the back as well. Nice little surround here from Jaedong. Is he going to have enough to do this? A lot of storms coming in from Snow. Own reinforcements coming in the form of Zealots. He's just going to mop this up, no problem. Look at that. He doesn't really have that huge a force either, but a lot of storms. And overall, great play from him. Seems like he's just entirely focusing on a ground army. Now, I think wouldn't even be a bad idea to go for some more Corsairs. Just go for some more Corsairs, trying to spot decent scout, trying to spot some more. Losing 2 observers, 1 still alive. That's going to give him spotting on those lurkers. With that, Archons in there, also going to help with splash against those lurkers. Anything that happens to stand under the Dark Swarm, but all those Zealots, of course, just can run in and just fight like they usually do. Dark Swarm does not really bother them all that much. Some forces coming in from the back, going to be able to pick off an Archon, but still Snow with just a minimal force doing so much damage, standing toe-to-toe, just because Jaedong cannot get enough forces out there. Now some more reinforcements coming in from the north side. Archons, Zealots, Dragoons, High Templar. And Jaedong just does not have the economy to push out forces. He can push out... See, every time some reinforcements come out for Jaedong, a few Zerglings, a few Hydralisks, and a Defiler or 2. Maybe a few Lurkers. And that's it. I mean, look at that. Skeleton crew. Talk about a... nothing out there. Snow going to take the opportunity, not bother, stop army production for like 2 seconds and expand the upper left position. Anytime a Protoss player has equal or more bases than a Zerg player, you know the Zerg player is in a ton of trouble, unless the Protoss player is doing something very stupid. Jaedong now going to get one of his armies kind of stuck in a little bit of a corner here. Where's the storm? 1 storm on top of those Lurkers would do it. 1 storm does come off. Lurkers walk under it, but overall not doing too much damage. The Lurkers just going to be followed. Dragoons getting some shots off on, and Jaedong being forced to retreat yet again towards that third, towards that natural. And that third, just Jaedong taking so many losses near that third, that lower right-hand position. He's been managed to hold fairly well, but still, any time that Snow manages to go in and take out that third, that's going to be GG. That's going to be a nail, the final nail in Jaedong's coffin. He's just not going to be able to do too much at that point if that does happen. Snow taking absolute and total control of this map. Seems like Jaedong got to try. I really don't know what he has to do. Trying to sneak a base will not help him. Trying to sneak a base, if he gets spotted, it's just going to take it out. Jaedong is not going to have the force to try and defend. I think the only shot he might have is win an engagement. Maybe sneak out a bunch of Zerglings and go and pick off a base. Sneak out Zerglings and pick off a base. That might do something. He has some nice carapace upgrades on his ground forces, but nice weapons upgrades on the opposite side as well for Snow. Finally seeing seeing some plagues out there, but not hitting too many Archons, really not helping out. A lot of Archons, there's going to be a lot of splash damage under the Dark Storm. Storm's coming off. I think we might be seeing the last engagement right here because Jaedong hasn't really done anything to stop Snow's progress in this match here. He should have gone. He had to have taken it. He had to have denied that 6 o'clock. He had to deny the upper left hand, but instead it was no denial on Jaedong's part whatsoever. And now Snow just going to come in here, pick off this 4th. And once this 4th goes down, that's going to be it. Jaedong's just not going to have the economy. He still has his natural and his lower right hand mining a little bit, but still not enough. There's been a lot of denial of resources on Snow's part, doing a great job. And Jaedong's now just in a humongous amount of trouble. There's a second Spire in there because the main Spire was earlier on taken out by DTs, I believe. Now this 4th is going to go down. We're probably going to be seeing the GG from Jaedong any minute now. Snow has lost a large amount of his forces, but it doesn't matter. You do see the GG there. Snow going to even this up. Very nice play. Not letting up the entire game, but still playing smart, putting on constant pressure, but not, hey, I don't have to win this now. Just set myself up. Set it up. Set it up. Set it up. Set it up for that eventual strike. And now we're going to see whether these little interesting 2 games from Snow, the second and 4th, really interesting and well played by Snow. We're going to see whether they set up some sort of mental factor where Jaedong kind of possibly starts doubting himself. We're gonna see whether we're gonna have another upset because Jaedong definitely wants this. I assume he really wants. He should want that golden badge. He's had so many chances to get it, but it's always been Flash in his way. Smacking himself on the thigh. God damn it, god damn it, god damn it, god damn it. Arr! I need more sleep. So I think this MSL might be his best shot to get his 3rd MSL goal because Flash is not in his way. But he really does look irritated. But hey, did you guys ranching out this listening? Hope you enjoyed. I'm going to bring you guys the last set next. Holy crap, this is exciting.